The day he ran, Caleb was personally dragged back by Ethan. Not a single word was exchanged on the way. Ethan simply propelled him forward with the grim determination of an officer handling a suspect. Mrs. Davis, the housekeeper, called out from the side, her voice laced with concern, reminding Ethan to be gentle, that Caleb couldn't see. She wondered aloud if the brothers had a fight. Ethan let out a humorless scoff. A cold thought flickered through his mind. If Caleb were any more blind, he'd have been on a flight out of the country by now. Any excuse Caleb had prepared died on his lips. He risked a glance back, his eyes meeting Ethan's frigid stare. The message was clear: "You are finished." Caleb knew Ethan's temperament better than anyone. He responded to softness, never to force. It had been the same when they first met. Ethan had wanted nothing to do with him, questioning why a blind stranger's fate should concern him. It was only Caleb's dramatic performance of tears and despair that earned him a grudging, impatient rescue. Ethan had grumbled about his theatrics before pulling him into his home. This time was different. Back then, Ethan had muttered curses but still patiently warned him about the steps. This time, lost in thought, Caleb stumbled and fell hard on the pavement. Ethan just stood there, arms crossed, offering no help at all. He was faking. Ethan's voice was a low growl. "Keep faking, Caleb." Inside the penthouse, in broad daylight, Ethan ordered all the lights to be turned on. He threw Caleb onto the bed and locked the door, instructing everyone to stay out. Then he pulled up a chair and sat directly opposite him. For the first time, Caleb could see Ethan with perfect clarity. His eyes were long and tilted slightly upwards at the corners, the sharp lines of his face giving him an unapproachable air. He was the kind of handsome that looked entirely different when he smiled, which he wasn't doing now. If Caleb had known what he truly looked like from the beginning, he never would have dared to try and win him over. After a few seconds, Caleb's gaze faltered. He tried to sound casual, asking when Ethan had figured it out. He stammered, insisting he had been planning a surprise. A firm grip seized his chin, forcing his head up. Ethan's voice was tight, squeezed through his teeth. He asked if the surprise involved disappearing from Chicago and changing his identity so he could never be found. He called Caleb a heartless little snake. He demanded to know if he hadn't been good to him, his fingers digging into Caleb's skin, leaving a burning sensation. Caleb was close to pleading. He whispered for Ethan to stop, that he was scaring him. The next second, his chin was released as Ethan's temper flared. Scared? Ethan shot back, questioning where that fear was when Caleb had called him bro every day. He reminded Caleb of their first night, when Caleb had asked him for help in the shower. Caleb froze. When Ethan first brought him home, he had been filthy and disoriented, bumping into everything. Ethan had shoved him into the bathroom with a disgusted look. After a while, Caleb had knocked, his voice muffled through the door. He had asked if Ethan could help him wash, claiming he couldn't manage. There was a long silence, so long Caleb thought he'd been ignored. Then 2 sharp knocks. Ethan's voice, still cold, had told him to open the door. Caleb swore to himself he hadn't meant anything by it. He was just desperate to be clean, and he figured 2 guys showering wasn't a big deal. He'd had water fights with his buddies in the college dorm showers. But he never imagined Ethan would hold onto that memory for so long. A bitter taste filled his mouth. He tried to placate him, insisting he had always seen him as an older brother. Ethan's brow furrowed, then smoothed out, a humorless smile touching his lips. He called him a little punk, telling him not to assume he didn't know how his eyes had healed. The higher his favorability score rose, the better Caleb's sight became. He asked if he was right, hissing Caleb's name through clenched teeth. Caleb was already shrinking under his gaze, unable to look at him. He was doomed. The first time the system's notification had sounded was the night Ethan agreed to let him stay, calling him a little brother. Caleb had spun a tragic, fabricated story about his life, and Ethan had sighed, offering him a place. Filled with triumph, Caleb had sweetly called him bro. Instantly, a mechanical voice chimed in his head. "Congratulations, host. Ethan's favorability has increased to 2%. Please continue your efforts." He had been stunned for a moment. Even Ethan had gone still beside him. Caleb realized he had found a shortcut. He immediately leaned into it, cooing about how wonderful his bro was, suggesting they listen to music together. They said a man's charm could outshine any woman's. Caleb hadn't believed it until that night. His eyesight was what mattered most, and the act, it turned out, was addictive. He started peppering his speech with bro constantly. Even Mrs. Davis commented on how close they were. But the favorability stalled at 20%, no matter how many times he said it. Until the night he boldly proposed they sleep in the same bed. The mechanical voice seemed to stutter. "Congratulations, host. Ethan's favorability has increased to 50%. That night, they lay as stiffly as statues. And it was that night Caleb noticed his vision had improved. Things were blurry, but he could see. His first instinct was to look at Ethan. He couldn't make out the details, but the silhouette was impressive, the kind of build that rivaled the star player on his old college basketball team. He nodded in silent approval. Ethan must have sensed something. He leaned closer, and Caleb instinctively flinched back. Ethan raised an eyebrow. His face loomed near, still indistinct. After a moment, a corner of his mouth lifted. He murmured that Caleb was staring so intently, one might think he could actually see. Caleb immediately feigned helplessness, moaning that his eyes were useless. Ethan said nothing, simply propping himself on his elbow to watch him. The scrutiny was unnerving. A dreadful thought began to dawn on Caleb. What kind of favorability was this exactly? He had assumed it was brotherly affection. But the atmosphere in the bed felt increasingly charged. No, it couldn't be. He whipped his head back toward Ethan, who seemed to be nonchalantly taking off his shirt. The dim light revealed the vague outline of lean muscle and a V-tapered torso. Caleb yelped, asking what he was doing. Ethan, now unbuckling his pants, glanced over with a smirk, asking him to guess. Caleb quickly reverted to his blind act. Ethan finished undressing and slid under the covers, explaining that he was just getting ready for bed. He pointed out they were both men, questioning Caleb's sudden modesty. A massive weight lifted from Caleb's shoulders. It had to be brotherly affection. He mentally chastised himself for his wild thoughts. What he didn't know was that from the very first chime, Ethan had heard it too. He had heard every single notification, in perfect sync with Caleb. He knew Caleb's sight was returning, but he played along, like that first night when he deliberately stripped in front of him. Caleb's mind reeled. Ethan, that calculating bastard, had been playing him from the start. He was so furious he could barely speak. Ethan, however, remained calm and simply got up from the bed. Caleb knew Ethan's methods. During the time he was pretending to be blind, he'd had a depressive spell and refused to eat. After a few failed attempts at coaxing him, Ethan had dropped the pretense. He had simply pried Caleb's jaw open and poured soup down his throat. It was brutally effective. The memory sent a shiver down his spine. He looked up to find Ethan watching him with a knowing expression. Caleb immediately clamped his mouth shut. Ethan watched him for a moment and asked what he had just called him. All of Caleb's defiance evaporated. He mumbled Ethan's name. Ethan raised an eyebrow, offering him one more chance. If his hands weren't tied, Caleb would have punched him. But he knew when to fold. He blinked, his voice weak. "Bro, that wasn't right." Ethan's gaze remained fixed on him. Caleb sighed in frustration. "Brother." Only then did Ethan relent. The moment he was free, a torrent of curses spilled from Caleb's mouth. He yelled that Ethan was shameless, that he was straight, that he liked women, and that tying him up was useless. Ethan was already walking toward the door, listening to the tirade. But when he heard the word straight, he paused. He turned back, picked up a metal spoon from the table, and with a small grunt of effort, bent it into a U shape. Caleb fell silent instantly, swallowing hard. He was under house arrest. Mrs. Davis, unaware of the real situation, would offer words of advice when she brought his meals. She told him Ethan was easy to soothe, that he just needed to soften up a little. She added that she, too, was quite angry that Caleb hadn't told them his eyes were better. After she left, Caleb considered her words. Maybe he was the one in the wrong. If a friend of his had deceived him and then tried to run, he would have hunted him down too. Using the landline phone Ethan had left him, he dialed his number. Ethan's voice came through, cool and distant, asking if he was calling to yell at him again. For the past few days, Caleb had done just that, calling and screaming until his voice gave out. When he was done, Ethan would calmly ask if his throat was sore, and then make a crude remark about hoping he had the same stamina in bed. It only made Caleb angrier. It seemed that after his escape attempt, Ethan had shed all pretense of civility. Caleb cleared his throat, the words feeling awkward. He explained that he was calling to apologize. On the other end, he could hear a secretary trying to give a report before Ethan dismissed her. He told Ethan he admitted he was wrong for using the favorability system for his own gain, but that he genuinely thought it was about brotherly feelings. He asked what Ethan wanted as compensation, but reiterated that he was straight and that no amount of confinement would change that. He suggested they be direct with each other. The line was silent for a long time. Caleb could hear the sound of a window opening, the distant blare of city horns mixing with the wind. He tentatively said Ethan's name. A quiet hum came from the other end. Then Ethan spoke. He agreed, surprisingly, to let Caleb go if he did one thing for him. Caleb could hardly believe it. He quickly agreed, asking what it was. A faint chuckle came through the phone. It was something Ethan said that he had been wanting for a very long time. He told Caleb he would see him that night. Even later, sitting at a gala event with people calling him Mr. Collins and offering toasts, Caleb felt like he was in a dream. That night, his eyes had landed on the bent spoon. Ethan had mounted it on the wall in the most conspicuous spot, perfectly positioned so it was the first thing Caleb saw when he woke up. It was a disturbingly possessive gesture. A primal scream of terror rose in his throat. He realized what Ethan's long-held desire was. He had shouted that he would never agree. Ethan had watched him, a half-smile on his face, remarking on how clever Caleb was to have already guessed. But Caleb hadn't guessed. What Ethan wanted was to hand over management of his basketball club. He was made general manager overnight. He had frowned, repeatedly asking for confirmation. He couldn't believe this was the one thing. Ethan had nodded, explaining the club had been neglected for a while. If Caleb could turn it around, he would be free to go. Owning a club had always been his dream. He and his college basketball buddies had tried to start one, but they had lost all their money. After entering the workforce, the dream had faded. So now, faced with the opportunity, he was terrified. He warned Ethan not to come after him if he bankrupted the place. Ethan had just smiled, his expression softening under the dim lights as he said he believed in him. Before leaving, he reached out to ruffle Caleb's hair, and gesture Caleb dodged with a grimace. That night, he couldn't sleep. Whatever else Ethan was, he was a brilliant businessman, a king in his domain. The gala was ostensibly to welcome Caleb, but everyone was really there to network with Ethan. And Ethan had sat there, calmly holding his glass, deflecting their advances with lazy grace. When their eyes met across the room, Caleb had felt a jolt of guilt and quickly looked away. Driven by the desire to escape, he threw himself into managing the club. But age and experience hadn't made him any wiser in business. He was still a complete novice. One evening, he sat in his office, running his hands through his hair in frustration. He didn't notice Ethan had sat down beside him, calmly sipping a glass of water. Caleb turned to him, his mind buzzing with questions. Ethan wasn't much older than him, yet he ran a dozen companies and still had time to torment him. He slapped the table, the words tumbling out awkwardly. He complained that the staff wouldn't listen to him, accusing Ethan of deliberately hiring people to antagonize him. The question hung in the air, highlighting the chasm between their levels of competence. Ethan didn't answer directly. Instead, he smiled. He asked if anyone had ever told Caleb he was like a dog. Caleb exploded. He demanded to know why Ethan had to insult him. Ethan's smile widened. He stood up, towering over Caleb by half a head. Caleb craned his neck, shouting that it was a personal attack. He was talking business, and Ethan was comparing him to a dog. Ethan's gaze softened. He reached out and ruffled Caleb's hair again. He apologized, saying it was his fault. The tirade Caleb had prepared died in his throat. He turned away, muttering that of course it was his fault, but a strange feeling flickered in his chest. Later that night, he shot up in bed, messing up his hair again. He regretted not yelling back. Being treated like that, like some kind of pet, was humiliating. He resolved to fix the club and get out as fast as possible. But after a month, the club had lost nearly $1 million. He couldn't sleep at all. A heavy silence hung over the office. Even the most argumentative employees were quiet. He sat slumped in his chair, defeated, until Ethan himself walked in. Everyone immediately swarmed him. Caleb, ashamed of the massive loss, tried to hide in a corner. One of the employees, the one who argued with him the most, was almost fawning over Ethan, expressing relief that the boss was finally here. The others shared the same sentiment. Ethan took a seat, his eyes flicking over to Caleb before settling on the staff. He noted the lack of energy in the room. Say what you will about them, they might have disrespected Caleb, but their reverence for Ethan was genuine. The same employee complained that he'd never been part of a losing venture in his life. He was a veteran, more comfortable speaking his mind. He added that they had only come over because Ethan had assured them the new manager was on his level. From his corner, Caleb looked up in disbelief. Ethan's face was still smiling, but his tone carried an unmistakable threat. He asked if the man was questioning his judgment. The atmosphere froze. He stated that if they couldn't even show basic respect to their boss, they didn't need to be there at all. The veteran employee stammered, insisting they never doubted him. But Ethan cut him off and walked out. Caleb hurried after him. He had seen this side of Ethan before. Back when his vision was still blurry, he had tried to cook for himself and ended up cutting his hand badly. Ethan had come home to find him bleeding. His face had been blank as he bandaged the wound. But a few minutes later, Caleb had heard Mrs. Davis crying outside. Ethan was firing her. It took a lot of pleading from Caleb to change his mind. After that, she never let him out of her sight. This was the same. These employees, as difficult as they were, cared about the company. And the oldest one had been with the firm since Ethan's father was in charge. Ethan raised an eyebrow at him, asking if he was sure he wanted to plead their case. Before Caleb could even nod, Ethan added, "Then beg me." Caleb bristled. He argued they were Ethan's people, that he was clearly familiar with them. He pointed out how they spoke to him with a familiar ease, questioning why it was now his job to beg. As he spoke, he realized how strange his words sounded, his voice trailing off. An inexplicable frustration bubbled up inside him, growing stronger when he saw the amused look on Ethan's face. Ethan chuckled softly and patted his head again. Oh, he drew out the word. "In that case, I'm begging you. I'm begging you to beg me. How about that?" He was insane. After that incident, the atmosphere at the club shifted. When the staff learned that Caleb had intervened on their behalf, their attitudes did a complete 180. Soon, the club's finances started to turn around. Caleb immediately suggested a celebration. At the bar, after a few rounds of drinks, the gossip started. Someone brought up Ethan, and the topic caught fire. A veteran employee mentioned that Ethan had a first love, a girl who was stunningly beautiful. He claimed to have watched them grow up together. Someone else chimed in, calling them childhood sweethearts. The conversation turned to why Ethan was still single. The veteran didn't know, only that the girl had apparently fallen for someone else. A wave of sympathy went through the group. Someone joked that maybe Ethan was still waiting for her. The veteran agreed, sharing a story about how the girl had loved golden retrievers as a child, but her father wouldn't let her have one. So Ethan had secretly bought one and would meet her every day to walk it together. They all marveled at how cunning Ethan had been even as a kid, concluding it was no wonder no one could outsmart him in business. They chattered on happily, but the stories left a sour taste in Caleb's mouth. He knew it. The favorability had to be brotherly. Ethan liked women. He was all talk. Back at the apartment, the feeling of irritation lingered. It intensified when he saw Ethan, fresh from a shower, wearing only a loosely tied robe. Ethan saw him and called out teasingly, "Back already, my little puppy? Heard you guys went out." Initially, Caleb had thrown a fit every time Ethan called him that. Eventually, he'd given up. But tonight, the name grated on him more than ever. He pushed past Ethan and headed for the bathroom, snapping that he'd been at a bar with lots of beautiful women and had gotten several of their numbers. Ethan's expression darkened. He took a step forward and wrapped an arm around Caleb's neck. He asked if Caleb was looking for a fight. Caleb tilted his chin up defiantly, retorting that soon Ethan wouldn't have to deal with his attitude anymore. He declared that the club was on the verge of success, and in less than a month he would be gone. His words were cut short. Ethan grabbed his chin again. Seeing his other hand move, Caleb clamped his mouth shut. It was the same tactic, this time scented with fresh soap. He was truly terrified of this move. His words became muffled protests as he glared at him. Ethan's expression was dark as he looked down at him. Caleb to think before he spoke again and not to run his mouth about things he heard from others. Ethan was too smart. Caleb was cornered. He turned his head away, his jaw set stubbornly. Finally, he managed to shout, "You're an asshole, Ethan. All you are is talk." Hearing this, Ethan seemed to relax. He grabbed Caleb and dragged him into the bathroom. Caleb stumbled, sending toiletries clattering to the floor. He yelled, asking what Ethan was doing. Ethan didn't answer, but his face said everything. He turned the shower on full blast, aiming the cold spray directly at Caleb's face. In the small, enclosed space, Their clothes were quickly soaked, clinging to their bodies. Ethan turned off the water. "Are you going to talk?" Caleb wiped the water from his face. "Are you insane?" The water came on again. He dodged the spray and swung a punch, but Ethan sidestepped it easily, and Caleb ended up falling, bruising his neck. Later, it was Ethan who carried him to the bed and changed his clothes. Caleb kept his neck stiff, his ears burning with a humiliating heat. Ethan, on the other hand, acted completely normal, as if Caleb were the only one with inappropriate thoughts. As he closed the door, he left Caleb with a parting shot, telling him to keep being difficult and see if it didn't kill him. And so they entered a cold war, ignoring each other at home. Caleb was a mess of frustration. Was he really in the wrong? He didn't think so. The club was improving. He'd just landed a major client. His freedom was within reach. He had nothing to be upset about. Ethan was the one losing a valuable asset. Suddenly, the familiar mechanical voice sounded. "Favorability has dropped to 90%. Please continue your efforts, Master." He froze. By the time he reacted, he had to swerve violently to avoid a collision. He pulled over to the side of the road, his heart pounding. The favorability could drop? He held his hand up in front of his face. He could see it clearly. What did this mean? The answer came with a phone call. Something had happened to Ethan. His assistant said he had been driving when his vision suddenly failed. He'd crashed his car. He was in the hospital. Caleb's heart clenched. He spun the car around. Ethan was lying quietly in the hospital bed, his eyes half open and fixed on the window. The doctors had run every test and found nothing wrong. This was their secret. But how could this happen? Ethan sensed his presence. His eyelashes fluttered, but he didn't turn his head. The feeling of being blind was terrifying, a sudden plunge into panic. Caleb knew this from experience, which made it impossible to offer any simple words of comfort. After a long silence, Caleb asked if he had heard the notification. A quiet yes was the reply. It was different from his own notifications. This was about Ethan. This favorability score. It was Caleb's feelings for him. "I'm sorry," Caleb started, not knowing what else to say. He ran a hand through his hair, his frustration erupting into a shout. "Damn this stupid system. When is it going to disappear?" Ethan remained silent. Caleb tried again. 90% should still be okay, right? You should be able to see something." He waved a hand in front of Ethan's face, but there was no reaction. A bitter smile touched Ethan's lips. He shook his head. He couldn't see anything at all. The usual confident, commanding Ethan was gone. In his place was a man whose voice was thick with anguish. He was truly blind. To avoid panic and corporate chaos, they kept the news quiet. Caleb spent the entire morning on the phone, ensuring everyone who knew would keep their mouths shut. By the time he was done, his throat was raw. Ever since they got home, Ethan had just been lying in bed, silent. Caleb sat beside him, trying to offer comfort. He told him not to panic, that he would get better. He suggested that Ethan could now try to win his favor. Something in his words seemed to trigger a reaction. Ethan laughed, a hollow sound. He asked how he was supposed to do that, by calling him brother? Caleb nodded, saying it was what he had done. Favorability has dropped to 88%. Please continue your efforts, Master. Caleb flinched and immediately tried to explain. He swore that wasn't it, that he didn't mean. He cursed, exasperated. He grabbed a glass of water and downed it in one go. No, Ethan, you have to listen. I think this damn system is broken. Ethan gave another bitter smile and slowly turned his head away. The room fell silent. After a long moment he spoke, his voice quiet. "Caleb, you really hate me that much, don't you? Because I like men. Is that it?" He asked if it disgusted him. Ethan had never spoken to him with such vulnerability. He was always forceful, always in control. Caleb had come to see him as an invincible figure who could bend anyone to his will, just like he had bent that spoon. He had almost resigned himself to his fate. He never expected this reversal. He was stunned into silence. Ethan's smile was pained. "I get it," he said. "Caleb, you can go." Caleb opened his mouth to argue that it wasn't like that at all. The mechanical voice cut him off again. "Favorability has dropped to 80%. Please continue your efforts, Master." The only answer Ethan received was the sound of the bedroom door opening and closing, followed by an endless, silent darkness. Of course, Caleb didn't leave. Leaving now would make him the heartless person Ethan thought he was. He found Ethan fumbling his way through the dark apartment. Mrs. Davis tried to help, but Ethan refused, insisting no one was to assist him. For all his playful teasing in the past, he was now fiercely, stubbornly proud. He scalded himself with hot water, tripped over furniture, yet still persisted in trying to open his laptop. Caleb couldn't watch anymore. He strode over and snatched the computer away. "Ethan, are you trying to torture yourself?" Ethan seemed surprised he was still there, then scoffed. "Don't pity me, Caleb." It was the first time Caleb had ever heard him swear. Caleb looked at him. "Ethan," he said, "so you're blind. It'll get better. I haven't left, so what are you afraid of? Why are you being so dramatic?" "Dramatic?" Ethan shot back. "Caleb, I started reading financial reports when I was a kid. I took over the company in my teens. I fought my way to where I am today, and now I'm blind. Do you know what will happen when people find out? And will I get better? You'll never have feelings for me, Caleb, you know that yourself." He lowered his eyes. "I've just been lying to myself this whole time." He didn't seem to notice the tears tracing paths down his cheeks. A sharp pain twisted in Caleb's chest. He hesitated for only a moment before pulling Ethan into an embrace. Ethan's body trembled with silent sobs. Caleb lifted his chin and wiped away his tears. "You've lost your composure, Ethan," he said softly. "If you never get better, I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." Ethan was a far more demanding patient than Caleb had ever been. At least Caleb had feigned sweetness. Ethan just lay in bed and issued orders like a king. "Caleb, water. Caleb, food. Caleb, bathroom." Caleb was just the right height for Ethan to lean on him, and he cursed under his breath the entire time. He grumbled that Ethan was blind, not crippled. Ethan replied with a deadpan expression that he was afraid of the dark. He even insisted on being personally escorted into the bathroom. Caleb was mortified. He asked if being blind had affected other bodily functions as well. Ethan just said "oh" in a tone that promised a sarcastic retort, so Caleb quickly covered his mouth, telling him to just hurry up. But the favorability score kept dropping, which made Caleb feel guiltier every time he saw him. Ethan, for his part, seemed to have moved past his initial despair and accepted his situation. But the company couldn't be ignored. Every day, Caleb acted as his secretary, reading emails aloud and typing out Ethan's replies. Over time, he learned Ethan's style and began handling minor issues on his own. Knowing he probably wasn't leaving anytime soon, Caleb decided to call up his old basketball buddies from college. The club needed more staff, and they were people he trusted completely. He explained the situation to Ethan, telling him to behave while he was out. Ethan's face darkened. He asked if they were all guys. He wanted to know how close these buddies were, how straight they were, He reminded Caleb that he had claimed to be straight, too. Ethan's rapid-fire questions left him no room to answer. Took a great deal of coaxing, even resorting to calling him brother, to finally get away. After dinner, they went to a karaoke bar, their old post-game ritual. A few of his friends got drunk and started teasing him. They praised him for being the star player in school who attracted all the girls, and for now running his own club. They asked if he had a girlfriend yet. Caleb was watching the clock. It was almost 10. If he didn't get back soon, Ethan would probably cause some trouble. He glanced up and said no. His friends exchanged a look. One of them asked if he remembered their team manager, the tall girl. Caleb had a vague memory of her. A few minutes later, she was sitting across from him. They told him she had come specifically to see him, only daring to enter after hearing he was single. Caleb sighed, glaring at his traitorous friends. The girl had pursued him for a while back in college. She was nice, but he had been too busy with his first attempt at a club to think about dating. One of his friends urged him not to keep her waiting, suggesting they should get together. Then, as if on cue, they all got up and headed for the door. The girl sat opposite him, looking a little awkward. Just as his friends reached the door, one of them yelled, "Whoa!" The door swung open to reveal Ethan, standing there like a stone sentinel, his face devoid of expression. Everyone scrambled back to their seats. Caleb helped Ethan to the seat beside him. His friends shot him questioning looks. He leaned in and whispered, asking when he had arrived, assuring him he was about to leave. Ethan just grunted, having clearly heard everything. The girl was the first to notice something was off. She frowned. "Caleb, who is this?" At the sound of her voice, Ethan's face grew even darker. He turned his head. "Caleb." The room went silent. Caleb took a deep breath. The moment had come. He wasn't even sure when the feeling had started. Maybe it was when his heart had pounded uncontrollably when Ethan held him. Or when he found himself being so careful while helping Ethan in the shower. Or the strange happiness he felt even when calling him brother. It wasn't until he was scrolling online and saw a stupid meme that it hit him. "You're doomed. You've fallen in love." He looked at the expectant faces around him and spoke. He said he had brought them there not just to talk about the club, but for another reason. He took Ethan's hand, and in a calm voice, said the words, "I'm gay." Ethan was in a fantastic mood on the way back. He even ruffled Caleb's hair, calling him a good dog. Caleb slapped his hand away, telling him not to use that word. But his protest was quickly silenced by a series of dings from the system. Favorability has dropped to 60%, dropped to 50%, dropped to 40%. Caleb was mortified. He finally swore, insisting he wasn't lying. He yelled at the empty air, demanding the stupid system show itself so they could have a talk, accusing it of being engineered to ruin people's happiness. Ethan had been smiling, but the moment Caleb looked at him, his expression became somber. He shook his head. "I knew it. The system can't be fooled." The implication was clear. Caleb was the liar. Caleb had never felt so misunderstood in his life. Ethan continued, saying that with a score so low, he shouldn't force himself. But the next second, he froze. Caleb had cupped his face with both hands and kissed him. He pulled back, slightly out of breath. "Well, Ethan, do you believe me now?" A slow smile spread across Ethan's face. He unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned over him. The kiss started again, deeper this time. Caleb's head was spinning. Ethan was tall and long-limbed, and the car was cramped. Finally, he pulled back with an impatient sound and scooped Caleb up into his arms. The sudden movement made Caleb yelp. He shouted at Ethan to warn him next time that he'd scared him. He demanded to be put down. Ethan's eyes danced with amusement. Hey, oh, a report. Of course. Anything for my partner. He cleared his throat dramatically. All right, listen up. I am now exiting the vehicle because it is too cramped. And then we will be getting into the vehicle. Caleb understood the double meaning and muttered a curse. He tried again, pleading to be put down, saying it was embarrassing for a grown man to be carried like this. Ethan just held him tighter. Better get used to it. He walked quickly, crossing the distance to the apartment in a few long strides, moving with a certainty that was impossible for a blind man. Just as the question formed in Caleb's mind, the front door clicked shut behind them. The next morning, Caleb felt numb. The broken system had been going off all night. Favorability has dropped to 39%. Favorability has dropped to 38%. Ethan had watched him with narrowed eyes. Doesn't seem like it was enough, he'd murmured. His voice soft but his actions anything but. By the end, Caleb was practically begging for mercy, his throat too raw to make a sound. Ethan, however, was refreshed and energetic, already reading a book when Caleb woke up. He glared at him. Can you even see that? The words came out as a gravelly croak. He regretted them instantly. Ethan paused, then put down the book and handed him a glass of water. Caleb felt insulted. He cleared his throat. I was born with a smoky voice. What, are you jealous? Ethan silenced him with a quick kiss. All right, my little smoky-voiced rapper. Drink some water. That placated him. He snatched the glass. During the day, Ethan wasn't as clingy. But at night, he was relentless. Caleb was beginning to fear the dark. And still, the favorability score kept dropping. He was completely bewildered. On his way home, he planned to discuss it with Ethan, but was stopped by the sound of a cheerful female voice from inside. He frowned and hurried in. In the living room, Ethan was on the sofa, and next to him was a laughing girl in a white dress. When she saw Caleb, she stood up. Ethan, someone's here. Ethan didn't move. Caleb, I need some water. The girl interjected first. It's right next to you. Don't trouble him just because you can't see. This is grown-up business, kid. Stay out of it. What? Ethan, I'm only 3 years younger than you. They bickered back and forth, and Caleb felt a familiar irritation. He turned to leave, announcing he was going back to the office. The girl followed him out. Wait, she said, pulling a small suitcase. I have to leave soon anyway. She looked at him, her expression conflicted. How long have you been with Ethan? Do you work together? Caleb's heart tightened. Not long. And no, we don't. The girl seemed relieved. It's just, he seems kind of dependent on you. Caleb was getting annoyed. He waved a hand dismissively. I have to go. Go where? Ethan had appeared behind them. This is your home. Where are you going? The girl stared for a full 3 seconds, her eyes darting between them. Then she shrieked. Oh my God. It's real. I totally ship it. She clapped her hands. Okay, this makes things so much easier. I was trying to figure out how to warn you that Ethan likes guys so you didn't get your feelings hurt, but I didn't know how to say it. Ethan, why didn't you tell me? I almost became the villain in your love story. She turned back to Caleb. Don't be scared of me. I'm leaving. And with that, she clicked away on her heels, dragging her little suitcase behind her. Caleb was left standing there, dumbfounded. This was not how he had imagined this encounter. He heard Ethan laughing beside him. The realization dawned. Ethan, you set this all up. Inside, Ethan pinned him against the wall and ruffled his hair. Still angry? Caleb glared at him. Can you just be normal for once? Somehow, Ethan had found out that Caleb had heard the stories about his supposed childhood sweetheart, so he had called her over specifically to clear the air. See? He had said. No first love, no crush, and definitely no dog story. I just like walking dogs. He then reached down and tugged sharply on the chain around Caleb's neck, pulling him forward. Now who's my dog? He got his answer that night. As fall approached, Ethan decided they should go camping. Caleb couldn't understand him. He was blind. What was he going to do on a camping trip? Ethan didn't reply, just calmly ate the breakfast Caleb had made. Watching him, Caleb couldn't help but smile. He caught himself and silently cursed. He was getting so sappy. Suddenly, the mechanical voice returned. Congratulations, Caleb. Your favorability towards women has dropped to 2%. Master, this mission is nearing completion. The reward missions for restoring Ethan's sight have been issued. Please continue your efforts. Caleb's smile slowly faded. The fork in Ethan's hand clattered onto the table. They stared at each other, wide-eyed. After a long moment, Caleb exploded. Then, explain. Ethan had been able to see since the score dropped to 70%. And he had suspected the true nature of the favorability score from the very beginning. But he had played along, even feigning weakness to get attention. So you could see everything? The bathroom, the meals, the showers. All of it? Ethan looked thoroughly pleased with himself. Couldn't have seen it any clearer. The only one who had been kept in the dark, the only one who had felt guilty over every nonsensical drop in the score, was him. Caleb's face was a thundercloud. Don't you ever think about touching me again. Not ever. A long arm wrapped around his waist, pulling him into an embrace. Don't be angry. I was wrong. Ethan's voice was a warm, sticky whisper in his ear. Partner. The last word sent a jolt through him. His face flushed, but he remained stubborn. I won't forgive you. Good partner. My partner. The cutest, most handsome, kind-hearted partner in the world. Ethan, it turned out, was very good at groveling. In the end, Ethan handled all the preparations, buying all the camping gear. It took days of coaxing before Caleb's anger subsided. Halfway to their destination, it started to rain, the downpour growing steadily worse. Caleb grumbled in frustration. Ethan sighed, agreeing that it was a shame all their new gear would go to waste. There was no way to set up a tent in this storm. He turned to Caleb, his expression perfectly serious. Well then, we'll have to do it in the car. We haven't tried that yet. Caleb was speechless, his face turning a shade of crimson. Ethan, can you think about something normal for one day? A final chime sounded. You have reached the love connection point. This gay system matchmaking service is now complete. The gay system wishes you a lifetime of happiness. Simultaneously, the car's GPS announced, you have arrived at your destination. This navigation session has ended. Enjoy your trip.